I don't really give moral arguments for God. I'd rather give like a metaphysical
I love
argument,
metaphysical
but I don't.
arguments.
So what do you say?
I love metaphysical arguments.
Yeah, but I don't know if because I don't want to be
Okay.
rude, but I don't know if you guys are done with your argument. I mean,
The
It's
what?
crazy.
Well, I mean,
So did Ian just prove their objective morality?
No.
Yeah, I think so, but I don't
no,
know.
no.
Yeah, he said, I
feel like
think so. It's not really objective, that's subjective.
he can't. He can't.
Well, you can think
Yeah,
so, and
yeah.
then
He
also it can
really
be
ain't grabbing
true.
it.
Like I think 2 plus
That's
2
true,
equals
that's true.
4.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
yeah,
again, what
okay.
is truth?
But
What is truth? Can you define? Can you tell me what
Like it's
truth is?
really people are saying it's really
I
late
feel
where
like there's a lot of
Veritas
people talking.
is.
I
Oh,
feel
okay.
like, in my opinion, we should have like just one person who he wants to talk to. I don't know if he was already talking to
Yeah.
someone else.
No,
But
like
yeah,
Um,
he's
let
jumping
it
on
just be
it.
Veritas because I think it's late
yeah.
where he
This.
is,
I
so we
think
can
Mazi,
just
you
get
should
this
you
over
should
with.
get him. You should have a conversation with him.
yeah, I'm fine talking to
I would
whoever.
I would have a conversation with him about the resurrection, but like Veritas, what time is this for? It's 4 a.m. for Veritas, so bro.
Yeah, it's 4 a.m. for me. I was about to sleep, but
So
this
yeah,
guy
let him do this
texted me.
thing and
Yeah,
then
wait. Oh
Well,
my gosh. There's I don't know. People are giving you like high reviews in the comment section. Yeah. Also, I love metaphysics. Which argument do you think is the best for God's
Okay,
existence?
have you read the first argument from the Blessed Saint Thomas Aquinas?
Is that the one from Motion, or is that a different one?
Yeah, yes, the argument from motion.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
I don't have it syntactic, like I don't have the syntax in my head, but it's basically something like, well, premise one, everything that exists is in motion, or everything that exists is either moved, unmoved, or is moved by another. Contingent things, right? So the finite beings are moved by another. So the conclusion is that this chain of finite beings must be moved by an infinite being, which is unmoved. And we could just go off like which premise you disagree, and I can defend that.
So, okay, I guess because I was recently reading a book called, I think it's titled like Divine Intervention. I forget the author. So I have like an argument on deck about like act potency stuff. So would you draw like an act potency like that? Would you say like this like infinite unmoved mover is like pure act, or does this
Yeah.
not like applicable? Okay. If God is pure act and like no potency, then how can God be omnipotent? Like where are the powers that are not within like the pure act?
Because within the scholastic tradition, God still has causal power and God still has active potency or active potentia. The active potentia does not. The only reason why we emphasize that God is pure act is because potency as a principle divides being and limits being. Whereas because God is purely actual and perfect and free from all imperfections, he doesn't have the principle of limitation, which comes from potency, but he has the capacity to do great, great, great things, but he doesn't have any capacity that limits his being. That's the point.
So I suppose I would take when we say that someone has like the power to do something, I typically take this as something like they have the potency to do it, or there's like a possible world where they do it. I guess would you agree with any of those like semantics of power?
That someone has the potency to do something.
Or I guess like
Yeah.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, if you say that by power, you're signifying the causal efficacy of someone being able to do something because of their intrinsic principles, then obviously I'd agree. Because, for example, I have the power to speak English, and the only reason why I have the power to speak English is because of my human nature, which is constituted by intrinsic principles that other beings do not have, like a table, a house, or a chair. And so that would be a power in that sense. And this
That's
wouldn't limit
interesting.
my being. Yeah.
Okay. Does God have the power to do things that he is not going to do?
He has the power to do things that he wills not to do. That's what you mean.
Yeah, right. Like so maybe in like all of God's existence and like the history of the universe, God will never make like a goose that has like two heads, for example. But maybe he has like the power to. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I suppose I can go with that example.
Okay. Um, I think that this is I think that this trades off with the act potency distinction. I don't think it makes sense to talk about him having like the potency to do a thing that he is never going to do, like a thing that in no possible world he does.
Sorry, what? How does this go against the equivalency distinction?
So, uh, just that is, if God has like no potency, if God is not, if he's pure act, no potency, then I'm not sure how he's omnipotent in regards to the things that he never acts.
Because obviously, like, I can have the power of speaking English. That doesn't mean I have to speak English every single time. I also speak my tribal language. Does that mean that when I speak my tribal language or when I speak Spanish, uh, like, does that mean that I can't speak English? Obviously not, because the power still resides in my intrinsic mode.
But that's because you have like the potency to do so.
Not just the not the passive potency to do so, the active potency to do so, not the type of potency that limits my being. I'm saying that God has active potency, has the active capacity to generate change in any being, but he doesn't have the capacity of himself changing, which is the main thing in question.
Okay, wait. Would you agree that in order to have the power to do something, there needs to be a possible world where you do that thing?
Yeah. If by
Okay,
possible world you just mean like a formal conception.
okay. And does is if God is like a purely necessary being and he never creates like a goose with two heads, there's like no possible world where he creates a goose with two heads, then the condition for having the power to create a goose with two heads would not be met.
That's just a negative inference fallacy. Can you justify the inference that because God has willed not to make something in this particular world, he doesn't have the power to do that thing? Like,
Yeah,
how do you
so
attach this
yeah,
to
I'll give you a
one times
syllogism.
one
So
equals two?
if you have the power to do X, then there must exist
What?
a possible world where you do X. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, if you have the power to do X, then I don't even like the whole possible world semantics, but yeah, there would be a possible world in which you could do X. I can grant you that.
Okay. Um, there is no possible world where God creates a goose with two heads.
Why?
Oh, okay. I guess like where he creates like a goose with two heads could be substituted for like anything that he's never going to do.
Anything that he is never going to do. I mean, I don't I don't see the point here. So you're saying that there are things that God would never do, therefore God is not omnipotent? I don't see like,
Yeah. So if what it means to have the power to do something is that there is a possible world where you do it, and there are certain things God is never going to do. That is to say, there are certain things that happen in no possible world. Then necessarily what this means is that God doesn't have the power to do that. The
yeah,
condition isn't met.
that would be a valid argument by the modus ponens inference rule. But what is it that God can do that God cannot do? Can you demonstrate?
So just a thing that God supposedly can do, but something that God will never do.
Yeah.
Do you acknowledge that there are some things that God has power to do, but there's no possible world in which God does them?
Okay. Now you're kind of being a bit semantic. So you're now saying, is there a possible world in which God can do something, but he does not do something? I'm not talking about what he does not do. I'm talking about what he cannot do. Because omnipotence is not about what God wills not to occur. It's about what he cannot do by the deficiency of his power. So I'm asking you, can you point to me what God cannot do in any possible world by a deficiency of his power, not by a mere negation of his decree?
Wait, hold on, because this just seems like a dodge of my question. The question specifically
I just
is,
corrected the question. I
do you
changed
take
it.
questions to be propositional?
Of course, questions are propositional.
Questions have truth value? So
Some
wait, so when I
questions
so
do.
when I ask how is your day, is that question true or false?
No, I don't think so. I don't
Yeah,
think it's
exactly.
either.
Questions aren't propositional. They don't have truth value.
You
Question.
define
It
proposition.
depends
So
on
so
it
when you
depends on
say
what you
I'm
mean by
correcting your
proposition.
question,
Because
that's just nonsense.
okay,
But I
it
would
depends.
ask him what he means by proposition. I wouldn't
It,
presuppose it.
it doesn't really matter though. Could you just address what I just said about God's omnipotence? Because I think it's
Well, can you just
shifting.
answer the question?
What was the question?
So, are there things that God has the power to do, but doesn't do in any possible world?
So there's a difference between okay. So are there things that God does not have the power to do but doesn't do in any possible world?
Are there things that God has the power to do, but that he doesn't do in any possible world?
I can't answer the question because I don't have comprehensive knowledge of the divine essence. But I could tell you that there are things that God can do that he will not do in this actual world. And I'm waiting for your argument against the
So,
omnipotence of
oh,
God's
wait.
will.
So what are the things that he won't do that he can do, but he won't do? What are the, could
Like
you name like one?
for example, if he gives you eternal life, in my view, he won't take it away from you. Um, he won't give people that don't have faith in the sacred scriptures sanctifying grace. I don't know. I don't see the point of these questions. I'm
So
trying to
sure.
prove to you that God exists.
Yeah. Oh, wait, so that's so okay. On this one, so he won't if he gives you eternal life, he won't take it away from you. Great, perfect. Is there a possible world where he takes it away from you?
Yes, he can. I mean, hypothetically, there's nothing intrinsically impossible for him taking it from you.
I guess is God like pure necessity?
Pure necessity? What do you
Yeah.
even mean?
Are there like aspects to God that are that are contingent?
God's formal perfections are necessary, metaphysically speaking, if that's what you're asking.
But are there like aspects of God that are contingent?
Aspects of God, no. I mean,
Or maybe
God
like
has a
are
logical
God's
relationship with
behaviors
all of God.
contingent?
God's behavior is contingent.
What causes God to behave one way as opposed to a different one?
What called his own essence? I don't see the point here.
And does his essence necessitate specific behaviors?
Does his essence necessitate a specific behavior of his divine essence?
Yeah, like the
Well,
essence that
well,
you're
well. I
referring
would say I
to.
would say it self-determines because sometimes people draw this radical dichotomy between necessity and freedom. I think that something in a sense could be necessary and free. So his essence self-determines his act. It self-determines. I wouldn't say it's necessary. So I reject the dichotomy. I think it's a trichotomy. Is it
So,
is it necessary? Is it contingent? Or is it self-determined? I say self-determined.
what do you mean
But
self-determined?
self-determined as in it's been constituted by his very own essence and nothing extrinsic to it. But how
What does
did
that
you
mean?
address my all these things don't address my
It
argument for
kind of seems
God?
like we're pivoting away.
Because you could be a modal anti-realist and still believe in God. You're not really addressing the substantial argument that I gave, which is the argument from motion. You've asked me a bunch of questions, but you're not
Yeah, wait,
addressing
we're
the
making
argument.
progress. We're like literally honing in on it. If we can demonstrate that God's behavior is necessary and not contingent, and you agree that there are things that God will not
Now,
do,
so you switched.
then
So
there's no
do you agree
possible
that?
world in which
Okay,
case we would
sorry.
conclude that God's not all powerful.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're
But
chilling.
now you switch the argument from critiquing the Lord's omnipotence to now trying to critique his essence from like a modal operative standpoint. I mean, obviously, someone can be what do you call it? Someone can be a modal anti-realist and still. Oh, thank you. Someone can be a modal anti-realist and still flip and believe in Jesus Christ. I don't see the point here. I really want you to like critique my argument for God before we get into the accidental elements of what God is.
Well, wait, this is like a critique of the argument. This is the critique of the premise that there's like an infinite God who is pure motion.
Pure act, pure act.
Yeah, like an infinite God who's pure act. That is what like all of this hinges on.
Okay,
That's like all
so
the questions
you
are like
agree with
directly relevant to it.
so you agree with all the premises of the all the premises that lead to the conclusion.
I'm just focusing on one, so we're not like overwhelmed with objections.
You haven't critiqued any premise. You're focusing on
This is
what God is, right? You're focusing on what God is.
That's one
You're
of the
saying that
premises.
okay, so what premise did you critique?
So the premise, what cause of potency? The third premise.
Sorry, what did you say?
The third premise
What's the third premise?
that there is an infinite being, or who is pure act, or that this specifically that this chain must be caused by an infinite being who is pure act.
Okay, and
And I'm saying that an infinite being who is pure act is not possible.
why?
I was trying to explain it, and then you didn't like the argument, so you tried to
No,
bring
no,
us
because you
elsewhere.
showing. I'm very sorry to interrupt you again, but to be honest, you showing or you trying to demonstrate how God's actions are necessary does not at all negate God existing or him being pure act. There are necessitarians who are Lutheran. So there are even some necessitarians that are Roman Catholic. I don't know how they try to address the councils, but
Well, so if you agree with the necessitarianism,
I
then
don't. I
that
don't.
oh, okay.
But that's irrelevant. That's my point. Whether I agree or I
No,
don't
it is
agree, that's
relevant.
irrelevant.
And I think the reason why you're so insistent on not engaging with it is because you know it's relevant.
Okay. The reason why I'm insistent on not engaging with it is because I seek for truth and I seek to debate on the substance. I don't seek to freestyle for TikTok.
This is the substance.
This is not the substance.
The premise, I don't think he understands the premise.
Right.
The third premise?
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the argument from motion. I understand all of this. The argument is just that I think that this is like incoherent.
Look, if you concede that a necessitarian could believe in a pure actual God, then what's the point of you even
Oh,
trying to
I
bring-
don't. I don't think that that's coherent at all.
Oh my gosh. Okay, just give your argument for why God would be necessary. Just go on.
For why God would be necessary.
Okay, so keep in mind-
specifically that his behavior would be necessary.
Okay, wait, before we land on this point, just want to make it clear for the room. This argument is valid. The only thing that is invalid about this argument is what you think God is. So the only thing that's invalid about this argument is that you don't think an infinite being with pure act is possible, because that infinite being with pure act would be a necessary being. That's the only thing you've disagreed with in
Well,
this argument. so
no,
far.
because this so specifically it would conflict with God's attribute of being omnipotent.
And that would conflict with God's attribute of being omnipotent. So
Yeah.
those are the two. So those are the two things. So you agree with all the inferences in the argument, apart from these two things.
Oh, I
So let's-
certainly don't agree with the inferences in the argument.
Okay. Okay.
So I guess sure, if you don't like this argument, that's fine. We could.
No, you can stay on it. I could address everything. I'm chilling.
Oh, are you sure? Because it seems like
course.
you didn't. Because I've been trying to talk about this one argument for the last like 7 minutes, and you've been doing like everything you can to like
you were
avoid
running
talking
away
about
from
it.
the substance of the debate. Since you
Yeah,
wanted
I've
to
been
debate this,
I've been telling you
fine.
that like this is the substance of the debate, and you've been
All right,
running
no
from it
pro-
for
no
like the last
problem.
like 7 minutes. So if you don't
All
like
right,
this
no problem.
argument, I can give you like another critique of the,
No, I
the
love it. I love
argument
it.
from
The
motion.
argument. Try it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure, perfect. So in terms of being self-determined, what's the necessary and sufficient for being self-determined?
What's the necessary what?
The necessary and sufficient condition for something being self-determined.
The necessary and sufficient condition?
Yeah.
The necessary and sufficient condition for something being self-determined is the
Yeah.
intrinsic principles that constitute the thing in question. The intrinsic principles that constitute the thing in question is the ousia, according to the blessed Eastern Fathers, and the Lord Jesus Christ, actually, and Aristotle. So the ousia is the principle of action, and it's the thing that formally constitutes a thing and gives its intrinsic principles to guide the thing in motion. Those things are what constitutes God's self-determined act, and those things are perfect because God is perfect.
When we
And
talk about
so-
intrinsic principles, what do we mean?
Intrinsic principles. So intrinsic means internal to the thing, and principles mean a source for a particular action. So
So
the internal sources of action in God are things like the goodness, the truth, the power, the intellect, the persons, the Holy Spirit, the Son, the Blessed Father, everything.
do specific principles necessitate specific acts?
Do specific principles necessitate specific acts?
Yeah.
Do specific principles necessitate specific acts? In a
Yeah.
general sense, or are you talking about like in God?
So, like, if God is like maximally perfect, um,
Thanks for the gifts, guys.
can he
Go
do
on.
anything other than like the most perfect thing, for example? No?
It well,
So
actually,
it is necessitated by his like
I
maximum
never said that.
perfection.
So
Oh, I thought I heard no. So
that was
can
someone
God
else.
do anything less than like the most perfect thing?
So I think God always does the most perfect thing because I take perfection in the Aristotelian sense, where something is perfect by reason of its teleological end or its telos. And so because everything's end is to glorify God, everything that God does in every possible world is perfect. And it's absolutely perfect because of its end. Or sorry, relatively perfect, sorry.
Oh, then we're going to collapse into necessitarianism. So do you agree
How
that
so?
uh, in each scenario there is going to be one most perfect thing?
In every possible world?
No, just in like each scenario. Every time or every gosh, you probably don't like time words. Every instance of God,
You're saying in every temporal event, is there going to be like a most perfect thing?
every one of God's behaviors. So we have like a sequence of all the
What do you mean
behaviors
by
God ever
behaviors? These are
does.
such weird terms.
You literally said that self-determined is like the intrinsic principles that like constitute specific acts.
Yeah. But
Okay,
I'm asking you, what do you mean by behaviors?
probably something like acts.
Okay, cool. All right. I just wanted to make sure that we're
Yeah,
on the same
sure.
page. All right, continue.
So, do you agree that in every time God acts, that he is going to do the most perfect act, the maximally perfect act?
Depends on what you mean by maximally perfect.
In the same sense that you'd say like God is maximally perfect?
Obviously not in the same sense. That's ridiculous. Because then God would be creating himself, which is absolutely repugnant to sacred scriptures and to
So
reason.
God does something other than the maximally perfect act?
Well, God does everything relatively perfect. He doesn't have to do everything absolutely perfect. If by
Is
maximally perfect,
perfect relative?
yeah, perfection can be relative or maximal, as Edward Fazer points out in Intro to Scholasticism, page 249, as St. Thomas Aquinas points out in Article 28 of his Summa
What the f-
Theologica.
Bro, it's the page numbers. That's pretty cool.
And if
So
you
wait,
have
what do you mean
Leibniz,
by
Leibniz also
relative
talks about this.
perfection?
So relative means based on some condition, whereas absolute means abstracted from any condition. So relative perfection is going to be based on the condition of the end, whereas absolute is going to be based on the thing itself. Absolutely, the only thing that's absolutely sorry, I'm starting this flipping 5 a.m. The only thing that's absolutely perfect is the Blessed Father, the Blessed Son, and the Blessed Holy Spirit in that one divine essence. And the only things that are relatively perfect are the things that are perfect in virtue of their end. And everything is moved to a specific end. And all ends are intended ultimately to glorify God. So everything that God does is relatively perfect, but not absolutely perfect, because the only thing absolutely perfect is God Himself.
Are the end that things have necessary?
Are the ends that things have necessary? But
Yeah.
some people have different views. Some people, because so like for example, the Blessed Francisco Suarez in the Roman Catholic Church, he takes the hypothetical necessarian view. Some people take the determined view. I don't. Me personally, I think like everything happens with a hypothetical necessity, or you could say like you could say with proximate determination.
So where I'm not sure where that leaves like the answer to the question. So like could
So it
these
does answer the question
teloses?
because it's not absolutely necessary. It's only hypothetically necessary or proximately determinate, meaning that it's determinate on the part of the divine decree, but it's still free on the part of the natural growth of the agent. So like I can give multiple examples, but I don't want to talk too much.
Sure, I mean like could the teloses be different?
In a different possible world, remotely, no. Proximately, yes. Remote just
Uh,
means overall, and proximate just means immediate. But yeah.
I'm definitely gonna need an example of this. So they in a possible world, in a different possible world, the telos both could be different, but also couldn't be different. I'm confused.
I mean, in a possible world, God could have created a plant such that it grows downward, right, instead of upward.
Sure.
But when it grows downward in that possible world, in my view, in some way, it would still glorify God because it's His creation. So remotely, remote just means overall or like antecedently, like in the analytic traditional view. Antecedently, it glorifies God. Consequently and proximately or immediately, right, it's different. So it would be necessary in some sense, but it will also be hypothetical and free in another sense. So that's what we mean by hypothetical necessity. Um, I hope that these are answering your critiques against my argument because I
Yep.
just gave you the argument for God. So,
Yeah. So, yeah. So in terms of the two categories, we have the proximate, and then what was the other one?
so the proximate and the remote categories, which are
Yep. Oh,
expatiated.
yeah. Sure. Proximate and remote. So is relative perfection? So you said relative perfection is based on the end. Is relative perfection based on the proximate end or the remote end?
Relative perfection. So what? So it's based on its proximate end and its remote end.
Then we have a problem. So in a different possible world, could the relative perfection be different?
In a different possible world, could no, because relative perfection is just like it's like an act. It's like a status of a thing. Like we call it perfect because it's achieved its end.
Perfect. Then we have necessitarianism. So we have relative perfection could not be different in a different possible world. That means relative perfections are necessary. Relative perfections are the determiner of God's behavior necessarily.
That's
Thus,
not. That doesn't even make that doesn't really even make any sense.
thus God's
So
actions are necessary, not contingent.
relative perfection is the proposition that when something has achieved its end, it is perfect. That's not necessary. That's not necessary. That's not modal anti-realism, because modal anti-realism is about the thing itself. It's not about what you call a thing. Like if I call you a man in every possible world, that's not me saying that you exist necessarily as a man. You could be a dog and I'll still call you a man. I'm just saying that the term man would always be applied to you, or at least the sense behind the term would always be applied to you. The sense behind the term relative perfection will always be applied to that something that achieves its end. It doesn't mean that the way or what it is going to be necessary. So what you're doing right now is a categorical. You're making a categorical error.
Wait, so maybe we could re-clarify. Could relative perfections be different in a different possible world?
Damn, thanks for the gifts, guys. Sorry, what do you say?
Could relative perfections be different in a different possible world?
Yeah, so the whatness of the relative perfections, or as Aristotle would call them, the substantial form, or the as John, I forgot his names, but yet the form or the what their whatnesses, their formal constituents, they can be different in each possible world, but they're still going to be relatively perfect. That's just that word I'm going to use for signifying that they achieve their end.
Okay.
This wouldn't lead to necessarianism. Um,
Do you acknowledge that this is the exact opposite answer that you gave to the exact same question that I asked you like 3 minutes ago?
about what I didn't
I
give
asked you, could relative perfection be different in a different possible world? And you said no. And now you're saying yes. Which one is it?
because so do you know what a composed and divided sense of a term is?
No.
Okay, so there's a difference between what something is and what I call it. So I'm always gonna call it relative perfection unless like I'm speaking a different language or whatever. But I'm talking about what it is or the way that the thing is gonna be. the way that the thing is going to be is obviously going to change. That's my point. So it's not going to be necessitarianism.
Okay, wait. So in terms of like relative perfection, in terms of God's relative perfection, could this be different in a different possible
God
world?
doesn't have relative perfection. God is absolutely perfect. The Trinity is absolutely perfect. He's not relatively perfect.
So, and maybe I'm just like
What the hell? Sorry, what did you say?
hey, that was pretty cool. It's a cool animation.
I know,
So,
right?
so you indicated that God's behavior is based on his like relative perfections,
No, I don't even know what you mean by that. God's behavior. Okay, I don't like use this word behavior because it
or
reduces
his
God's.
acts.
Yes, God's act is logically dependent on his own will, his own essence. That's all I'm saying. It's not dependent on any extrinsic variable or any extrinsic condition outside of his essence. It's based on his essence. It's grounded on his essence. It's founded on his essence.
And is his essence necessary?
His essence is necessary.
So if his essence is necessary and his acts are based on his necessary
Then his acts would
essence,
be necessary.
then
No, it would have.
so his acts are necessary.
Okay, but would that mean that he's not free?
So what this means is that he's not all powerful.
Okay,
Because he
okay.
specifically, if the things God does are necessary, then
Yeah.
this means that the
That he could
definition
not
of
do
having a
otherwise, right?
power is not going to be met. So if all of God's actions are necessary, and one of the actions that God does is not to take away someone's place in heaven. After God puts someone in heaven, God's not going to take that away from them. That is necessarily going to be the case, which means that there's no possible world where that happens. And we agreed earlier that if you have the power to do
That's not what
X,
follows at all. It's not what
so
follows.
which step of that do you reject?
Because you ignored my categorical distinction of a hypothetical necessity. That's for one. For two, yeah, so just because God's act logically depends on his essence and his essence is necessary, does not mean that God is not free.
I didn't.
God,
That's not my claim.
okay, so you agree that in my view,
Do you understand my claim?
wait, I just want to set this down for a second because some people would say that, yeah, because God's act is necessary, therefore he's not all powerful because he doesn't have free will. So you
Well,
agree
wait, I'm not.
that,
This
I know
nothing.
that's not
Nothing
what
involving
you,
free will at all. The words free will
I
related to God haven't come
understand.
out of my mouth at all. I'm not sure where this is coming from.
Ian, I understand. I just want to be
Okay,
explicit about something so we can move on.
sure.
So you agree that in my view, God is self-determined and he is free. You just think that he's not all powerful. Yes?
What I don't know what the status of free will would be, given necessitarianism. I'm not willing to make the claim that he wouldn't be free. I
No,
think
no,
I'd probably
I'm
have
not
to withhold
advocating for
judgment about it.
necessitarianism.
Yeah, but I'm arguing that like this view has collapsed into necessitarianism.
Okay,
Or
so
no,
then
so I'm sorry. Wait, I'm sorry.
you're saying that he's
Let me
not free
clarify. Let me
then. You're saying
clarify.
he's not free.
Let me clarify. So, not like overall necessitarianism. I'm not making that claim, but that all of God's actions are necessary, that they couldn't be otherwise.
That all of God's acts and what, sorry?
That's my claim. All of God's acts are necessary.
All of God's acts are necessary.
Yep.
Well, okay, that's your claim, whatever. Yes, so can you show me how God is not all powerful? Let's just stick on that claim you made there.
Yep. So from the premise that all God's acts are necessary, and that there are some acts that God has the power to perform, but will not perform. If God will not perform them, then he will necessarily not perform them. This means that there is no action, or there is no possible world where he will perform them. Do you agree?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I'm just I'm not track.
That's fine. I know it's like very late where you are. It's okay. It's just,
Thank you.
yeah. So from the starting point that all of God's acts are necessary, and that there are certain acts that God is not going to do, that he won't take away your place in heaven if he's like given it to you. He's not gonna like put you. He's not gonna like put the Veritas into heaven and then like take the Veritas out of heaven.
I don't think that's what we mean by no. Okay, now I know what you mean. Yeah, so There's a difference between first act and second act, which is why I didn't want you to use the term behaviors. I wanted to use the term act. So the first act is what God is, his actual being, his stance of being, and second act is the energeia, as the Eastern Orthodox would rightly call it, sacred scriptures call it, or just the activities of God. So the energeia has a logical relation to creation, the same way that the sun has a logical relation to you know when you're like how like you took a good picture in your profile picture, you were standing in front of the sun. If you turned around, the sun wouldn't be on your face, right? But the sun is still there.
So,
So the there's a logical relation from the sun to you, right? But there's still a real relation of you to the sun insofar as like you existing in that spatial temporal coordinates allow the sun to shine in your face there. So there's a real relation from the creation to God. There's a logical relation. Yeah, there's a logical relation from God to creation. And that logical relation, God could import different information into that creation in different possible worlds. However, remotely, the end is always going to be the same because his first act is always the same, which is to glorify himself. And so every single possible world will always glorify God. So it's necessary in that sense, but it's also hypothetical and contingent in the other sense.
uh, wait, so every possible world will be one where God is glorified?
Yes.
Does glorification require creation?
No. Absolutely not.
So God,
Because
it's just
Jesus
like
Christ
God.
says in John 17:5, share with me the glory that I had with you before the world began. So glory does not always require creation.
Oh, sure. So even without creation, it would just be like the Father and the Son and like the Holy Spirit like glorifying each other.
Yes, but even hypothetically, a unipersonal God would have glory. By glory, we just mean the expression of the divine essence in act.
So I guess like, oh gosh, I don't know if I want to get too deep into this, but I am curious about this. So I take glorification as being like an action. Who's the actor?
I don't understand.
So you're
I
saying
mean,
that
like,
every possible world will like glorify God. Who is the actor that's like doing the glorifying?
oh, I know what you mean now. Who's the actor? But what do you mean by actor? Because actors imply agency, and I think God can glorify Himself in every single possible world without agency. Keep in mind, the possible worlds exist in God. It's not the other way around. It's not that God exists in these possible worlds. The possible worlds exist in God, and God moves each possible world and it's like the conditions of each possible world to their relative ends. And so, when God is revealed in the possible world, He necessarily will be glorified because his essence has all the form perfections that are sufficient for glorification, which is the expression of his majesty and his being. So glorification would occur in every possible world. This doesn't lead to necessitarianism. This doesn't lead to God being not omnipotent. And so I think my argument so far has sufficiently
Ooh,
displayed God's
I
existence.
feel like you just shot yourself in the foot. So God is not in any possible world.
So I'm talking about in the order of reality. So I'm saying that the possible worlds are in him. It's not that he's in the possible worlds.
So God is not present in any possible world.
He is present. It's like for example, um, like my soul is present in me, but I'm present with my soul. Like it's not as if I'm present on my soul. My soul is in me because my soul, like I believe that my soul can leave my body. So the soul is in me, but if my soul like I wouldn't say like I'm not present with my soul. So the worlds are present in God, right? They're present in God, but God is still present with the worlds because God is he's transcendentally perfect. So my point to you, and this is kind of an irrelevant point because I can still this doesn't even matter. The
Wait, is
point
he
to you is that
present with all of them, or is he present in all of them?
he's present with all of them.
So, so when we say that there's like a possible world where God does make like a goose that has two heads, and then there's a possible world where God does not make a goose with two heads, I would take this as there being like God one in world one and God two in world two.
That's completely fine. That's none of my business. My point to you is
Well, wait, do you
every
agree or
single
disagree with that? Because that seems incompatible with your
obviously
metaphysics.
obviously I disagree, but I think you're hinging on something that's irrelevant.
Oh, well, so if you disagree with that, then I feel like this collapses God's omnipotence.
That's a terrible argument. But here's
I
my
haven't
here's
even
my
given
main
the argument.
okay, look, here's my main point.
Just so wait, so what you actually mean is like
Here's
you
my
don't
main
like the
point
conclusion, you
before
haven't
you
heard
say
the
one more thing.
argument.
Let me address my main point. My main point is that God's glory would always be exercised in every possible world. Whether you want to say that he's in the possible world or he's not in the possible. Okay, fine. I can just grant you that he's in the possible. That's not my bit. It doesn't matter. My point
Well,
is
my argument works better if he's
God's
not in the possible world.
God's glory is exercised and explicated in every possible world. Now, I've given you the argument from I've given you the first way from the blessed Saint Thomas Aquinas,
Yeah, and we're
and
going through the argument.
you've
I don't know
hinged
why
on
you
three
keep on.
problems. You've hinged on three
Well,
problems.
well, it seems like what we keep on going back to is like a bunch of
I'm
like
still speaking.
it seems like you're going back to
Let me
like
finish.
whining.
Let me finish.
Like
let
I
me
don't know
finish.
why you refuse to engage with the
I don't know
dialogue.
why
You
you're
keep
not
on
letting
running
me
away
finish
from
my
it.
dialogue. Let me finish.
You keep on running away from the argument. Why are you running?
You hinged on three problems. You hinged on God's omnipotence. I debunked those arguments. You hinged
You
on God.
haven't. We're still talking about them.
Let me just. Let me. That's complete.
I don't know why you're giving a victory speech. You haven't done very well.
I'm not giving a victory speech. I'm
You
still
are.
here.
You've
Like,
said you've defeated all the arguments. We're still
okay,
talking about
can I
them.
finish speaking before you speak?
Well, if you're gonna give like a victory
I'm gonna say
speech,
something.
I
I'm
just
gonna
think
say
it's like a
something
bit
real
out
quick.
of turn.
Hold on. I'm
Ian,
gonna
you're
say something
just
real quick.
posturing because you're
I'm
trying
gonna
to
say
get
something.
out.
No.
I'm trying to get back to the.
Like, bro, stop. Like, I know you hear me talking. You're not deaf. Jesus Christ. Like, this entire time, and you've been giving argument after argument after argument. Anytime Vertus
It's the
asks you a
same arg.
question, bro, anytime he asks you a question, all you do is give one sentence and you be like, no, that's not what I mean. No, I need an explanation for this. No, I need an explanation for
Give an
that.
example.
Like, can you please just engage?
Yeah, I am engaging. I just want to stick with the argument that we've
How
been
are you
talking
sticking with the
about.
argument?
We're sticking with the argument because it
How are
hasn't
you
been
doing
defeated
that?
yet. Yeah, because I don't like it when people pivot
What you
away.
mean you don't like it?
I think it's cowardly when people
What
pivot.
do you mean
I'm
it's
sorry.
cowardly? That's how you've been doing this whole
I think a
time.
good debater should stick to the argument and
How
not
can
pivot.
a
I
good debater
apologize.
stick to an argument?
They should stick to the argument because if you pivot away, it means that you don't have a
How is
proper
he pivoting?
response. He's pivoting away because he doesn't want to talk about it anymore.
What do you
You
mean?
went on
How
a
do you know that he
tangent.
doesn't?
He
Give me your
doesn't because he
justification.
keeps on
Stop.
trying to move away
Hester,
from it. He doesn't like talking about it.
Stop. Hester, stop.
And
The
I'm
reason
sorry.
why I'm doing
I'm
is
sorry that he
because
doesn't
you've
like
been
to
doing
talk
this
about
whole
it. I'm
time.
sorry he didn't like the argument, but he hasn't defeated
How do
it
you know he didn't like the argument?
because he keeps on trying to run away from it.
How do you know he's trying to run away from it?
Because we have all observed him try to run back to his conclusion.
Give your
He's
justification
he's
for
run
that.
away from like the necessity of God's
Give your
actions.
justification for
What
that.
the give what?
Give your justification on how he's trying to run.
Yeah, premise one, we are justified in believing our seemings in the absence of defeaters. Premise two, it seems like he's running away from the argument. Conclusion, we are justified in believing that he's running away from the argument. Which premise do you reject?
I reject both.
So you reject that we're justified in believing our seemings in the absence of defeaters?
My God, I reject both.
Yeah, so you reject the argument or the premise that we're justified in accepting our seemings in the absence of defeaters? You reject that?
I reject both. Did I not?
So yeah,
say
sure,
that?
sure. I'll give you a sub argument. That's fine. I'll give you the self-defeat argument for
Okay,
phenomenal
it's-
Not
conservatism.
crashing out. This whole time it's been question after question. I've been
No, yeah,
hearing
yeah. I'm giving you a premise,
for
conclusion,
real, bro.
argument. Do you want the
like I've
argument
been
or
hearing
not?
question after question after
So-
question
so-
after
so
question.
here's the
All
thing,
I hear,
Ian.
if
Yeah.
he gives a word, like Versus, as soon as you
Bro,
get a word,
they lost and
what
now
does
they're like
that mean?
dogpiling.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, I'm not
Bro,
dogpiling. I literally
yeah.
stopped
You are.
everybody.
There's like 10
recognize
people.
that
There's
you're-
4 people
You're
jumping on me.
posturing. Ian.
Like
No, no.
nobody, Eric, no,
Yeah, no one's
nobody's
jumping.
jumping you. I'm literally
No one's
talking to
jumping.
you, man. I'm talking to you. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
okay.
you're going question after question after question. And
Yeah,
if
I'm
I
giving you
wanted to
premises.
kick in, I would have been kicked in. And been up here for like over an hour, right about now.
Damn, that's crazy.
I mean, all I'm gonna say, guys, is like I just wanted to finish what I was saying. Ian, I respect you. I won't interrupt you, but please don't interrupt me because I don't have the ability right now to do the whole rapid back to back thing. It's like 5 a.m. But I just wanted to say that so far that I've given, you might disagree and I respect it, but we could talk about that. But it seems like so far you're talking about phenomenal conservatism. So I'm just going to say that it seems like to me so far that I've given you the argument, right, from motion. And when I gave you the argument from motion, you said that what you disagree with the argument, what you disagree with the argument is about what God is, because you think this would lead to different problems on my framework of God, which is God not being omnipotent, God being necessary, but not God being necessary, but necessitarianism, God not being omnipotent. I think I've sufficiently addressed all your objections on those conditions. But if you have more objections, you could go ahead. I could do maybe like 20 minutes more, and then that's completely fine. I thank the host for allowing me up here to debate, and I thank everyone so much for giving me so many gifts. But yeah, Christ is Lord, and yeah, we could continue if you want, or you could add me and you could have a formal debate, or yeah, like it's whatever. What do you?
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, let's keep on going with the same argument I've been making.
All
So
right, cool.
we agree that all of God's acts are necessary.
All of God's acts are necessary.
Yeah.
It depends on what you mean. So I think that God in first act is absolutely necessary and self-determined and free. And I think that God in second act is hypothetically necessary and free.
What does hypothetically necessary mean?
Hypothetical necessity is like relative necessity. So it's necessary based on some condition. It's also called conditional necessity in some analytic frameworks. And it was first coined by, is it Boethius? I can't remember. Maybe St. Basil. I can't remember exactly, but it's basically the type of necessity that goes something like this. Let's say you have a proposition. Ian is a human being and he is sitting down. Well, the proposition is half true because you are a human being, but it's only going to be fully true when you sit down. So the consequence of the proposition is necessarily entailed by the action of you sitting down. So that's going to be conditionally necessary. So God's second act and its relation to this world is conditionally necessary on his decree, and his decree is to save people from their sins through our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, which is only hypothetically necessary on the part of the incarnation. And yeah, God's first act, his actual state of being, is absolutely necessary because God is divinely perfect.
So, are the set of second acts that God does, are these going to be true in every possible
It's
world?
not second acts, it's second acts.
What did I say?
I thought you said second acts. Sorry,
What did you say?
I said it's not second acts. It's second act.
Oh, sure. I'm not. I don't mean axe like the thing you use to chop wood. When I say
No, no,
acts,
no. no okay, it's whatever. Just
am
continue.
I? Gosh, am I like? Is there like a? Am I having like an aneurysm? I feel like we're saying the exact same
No,
thing.
ACT, not ACTS.
Sure. Yeah. It's. I guess that's just like how I pronounce it. Um. Oh wait. Second act. So okay. God's second act refers to his like the things that God does, correct?
Yeah, the energeia, the activities of God.
Sure. So but this does refer to like a set. Is this set necessary?
What? What do you mean it refers to as sets?
Like the
Because
set of the things
sets
that
in
God does.
sets in analytic philosophy are abstract. I don't think it's abstract because it has a causal relation, so it doesn't refer to a set in my view.
So it's not like a collection of things?
Okay, so when you say sets, it's just like you just mean a collection of things.
That's what a set is, yeah?
Not really, because when I was reading on sets, they're typically abstract.
Yeah, they're an abstract collection of things.
I don't think it's abstract. That's my point. So
Uh,
it's not a set.
so I'll just pull up like the Wikipedia page because I don't know, it's like the philosophy classic where you like read something but it doesn't really like you kind of like skip over the basics. A set is a collection of different things. That's all a set is. Collection of different
And
things.
it says in mathematics, is
Yeah.
mathematics an abstract study or is it like a concrete? It's an abstract. It's an
Yeah.
abstract.
Wait, so is God's second act a collection of different things?
God's second act is physical because obviously the energeia, right? The energeia or like the activities of God are physical, real things. They're not just like an abstract compilation of set of things or something like that.
So is it like a set of like physical things?
It's not.
Because
It's not.
you can have
It's not.
sets of
It's not a
physical
set.
things as well. Like you could have,
It's
there's
not.
like
It's
a
not a
set
set.
of like the
It's not a set
furniture in
at
my
all.
house.
It's not a set because it itself is not abstract. But can you just look, what's the argument? Go ahead.
Well, I'm just trying to get clear on this. So what is like it refers to his activity?
Yeah, his activity.
Is his activity going to be the same in every possible world?
Yes and no. So Saint Blessed Suarez talks about this. I always quote the people in case people want to read after. But Francisco Suarez, one of the blessed scholastics in the Roman Catholic Church, he speaks about this. So basically, God's intrinsic properties of his second act, those are necessary because they are his essence. However, its extrinsic relation to to creation is only hypothetically necessary, as I just said, or conditionally necessary.
So within God's activity, is there any possible world where he brings you into heaven and then kicks you out?
What?
Is there a possible world within God's like
I don't
activity?
think I don't think it's that God in every world in any world will ever bring you into heaven and kick you out. But
Oh, then we've proven the point.
that
Okay,
doesn't mean
cool.
that doesn't
Yeah,
mean
wait, let me
that
show you
does
the
not
contradiction then.
mean
I got you.
necessarianism, bro. Oh
Oh,
my gosh.
what it
Thank
does
you.
show is
Such a
no
oh,
omnipotence.
very
So, because earlier you said God has the power to bring you into heaven and then kick you out, but he's not going to do
okay,
that.
just because God will not do something in every possible world does not take away his power to do the thing or something. Like I can
So,
say,
wait, can I give the
so
argument?
if I say, for example, if I say
Can I give the argument?
I could justify it, but you want to give an argument?
Yeah,
Okay, but I just want to give an example before you give the argument, so just to
sure.
make sure. Okay, so like if let's say for 1 month I say I will not speak English. Okay, ¿Qué estás haciendo? What are you doing? I will not speak English. Now, if I say I will not speak English for this whole month and I do not speak English, how can someone tell me that I don't have the power to speak English? Because what's power? The ability to do something. How can someone tell me I don't have the ability to speak English? That's obviously ridiculous. I still have the ability to speak English, even if I don't want to speak it for a whole month. So God, because of the moral conditions and because of his psychological constancy, will never just bring will not, in my opinion, because I'm pretty sure theologians will disagree, but he will not bring someone into heaven. Why do I have so much energy now? Yeah, but he will not bring someone into heaven and kick the person out. That's impossible. But it does not mean that it's impossible on the part of his divine power. It just means it's impossible on the part of his psychological constancy.
Is there a possible world where it happens?
I don't think that there's a possible world where it
Okay,
will
yep.
happen
That's perfect, yeah.
because he will never execute that or we will never actually do that.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. So then, and you agreed earlier that if you have the power to do X, then there must exist a possible world in which you do X. There is no possible world where God brings you into heaven and then kicks you out of heaven. Therefore, by modus tollens, God does not have the power to bring you into
I don't
heaven.
think
Which
no
premise do you reject?
I very much remember saying that if to be all powerful, you must have the power by which you can do X. I didn't say
Which
by which
premise?
no. I didn't say by which you will do X or execute X in every possible. I didn't say that. I
Which
said by
premise do
which
you
you can
reject?
do X. If someone's recording, they're gonna see it. I said by which you can do
The
X,
the
not by which you
number
will do X.
The number premise you reject, what number is that?
I can't remember the syllogism that you gave me.
Yeah, I'll give it again. So, if you have the power to do X, then there must exist a possible world in which you do X. Premise 2, there is no
No,
possible world where God
then
brings
I
you.
disagree. I disagree with premise one. Then
And do you acknowledge that throughout this entire conversation you have consistently agreed with this and now you're flip-flopping on that?
I'm very, very, very sure that I said this. I changed the word "do" to like "can do," but I mean, if you want to hinge on that, I apologize. But I'm
Oh, that's
pretty
fine.
sure I did say that.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, we can work with that. So, but you would still hold that you can do it?
Yeah, that God can do. There's nothing contrary to His divine power to
Okay.
do such.
So, if you can do something, then there's a possible world where you do it.
No, that doesn't follow. How do you draw
What do
that
you mean? So
inference?
when you say can, what do you mean?
So can I just mean that it's possible on the part of His divine power, not that He will ever do it in any possible world.
So okay, wait. So it's possible. So therefore, if God can do something, then it's possible that He does it. If it's possible that God does it, then there's a possible world where He does it. Do you agree?
I don't think so.
Which of those do you reject?
I think it's a non sequitur.
It follows from it's two hypothetical syllogisms.
I don't.
X
Two
implies Y,
hypothetical
Y
syllogisms. You
implies
mean one?
Z, therefore X implies Z.
Yeah, I think I reject the consequence from the antecedent. So I think I think it's sufficient. Okay, here's the problem. So I think it's sufficient to say that if God is all powerful in every possible world, He can do X. But I choose not to speak on whether in every possible world He will do X, because Christians only derive that from the blessed sacred scriptures. We don't derive that from anywhere else. We derive what God will do from the sacred scriptures. Everything else is up to God alone and up to God alone. So I'm going to tell you that in this actual world, Christ died for our sins, and the gospel, John 3:16. However, in every possible world, what God will do, I know not. I know what God can do, and what God can do is everything that's metaphysically, intrinsically possible. And so God would maintain His omnipotence.
So I'm just going to need you to reject a premise then. The premise one is that if God can do X, then it's possible that that He does X. Premise two, if it's possible God does X, then there's a possible world where God does X.
Okay, what do you mean by possible world? Because I don't. If you mean like, okay, let's just say hypothetically, there's not a universe and God will do X. I disagree.
Which premise do you reject?
So I would reject is it the second premise or the third? I can't remember.
So you reject that if if it's possible for you to do something, then there's a possible world where you do that thing. You reject that?
Is there any problem with rejecting that?
Yeah.
What's the
That's just
problem?
like it's what a possible world is. It's like a
I think that's equivocating what the will can do and what the will executes.
maybe
Because
we could,
some people in Christian theology, for example, would say that it's possible for God to forgive people's sins without the crucifixion of Christ. But some people would actually argue that in every possible world, God will crucify Christ. So I think I'm not an analytic, like I'm quite new to analytic philosophy, so I'm not sure of the whole thing about this, but I'm pretty sure from just like a prima facie standpoint that there's nothing wrong with me saying God in like I lost my train of thought again. It's fine. But God what's it called? I don't think there's anything wrong with me saying that God can do X in each possible world, but I don't know if He will do X in each possible world
I'm not making
just
a
because of
claim that
God.
he will do it. I'm just saying that there's a possible world.
Yeah, you're saying
Oh,
that there's a
okay,
possible
yeah. So
world in
that
which
just
He
that
will do it.
there is like a possible world where he does it. So a
Yeah,
possible
I don't think
world
so.
is just a complete and consistent way the world is or could have been. That's all it means. That's all a possible world is.
Yeah, I just don't think that's true.
Okay, wait. I'm sorry if there's like a. Also, sorry if there's like a change in my mic quality. I had to plug my phone. Oop, fuck! I don't want. Are you able to
Yeah, can you hear me?
And
Oh
your
yeah,
mic is going in and out.
yeah. Okay,
Your coffee mug.
sorry. Yeah, wait. Okay, wait. Am I? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We hear you.
Yep. Okay. Cool. So then we can just take out the words possible world and we can substitute it. So for premise two, we can say if it's possible God does X, then there is a complete and consistent way the world is or could have been or could be where God does X.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I agree with that inference. I need to study more modal logic to see the consequences of disagreeing with that inference, but I'm not sure if I agree.
So you think it's possible God does something, but that there is no way the world could be where God does that thing?
Yeah, because obviously there's a real distinction in my view between the potential of the will and the execution of the will. So like, okay, it's different to say it's possible that a plant will grow and it fails to grow in this world. So there's a possible world in which a plant will grow. But that's different from saying it's possible that God can do X. So there must exist some possible world in which he will execute and do X. I think that's a jump. I don't think that's necessarily true because in the first example, the plant is not a conscious agent and it doesn't have any psychological constancy or psychological habits. Whereas in the second example, God does have psychological constancy. And so I'm not sure there. The Bible teaches us not to speak on things that we don't know, but it teaches us on what we do know about this world. So I stick on that. But my point to you is that I don't see how this leads me to conclude that God is not omnipotent. And that's my main focus of the crux of the issue, whether God
Yeah.
is not omnipotent by denying your inference.
Well, I think if you deny the inference, you just fall into absurdity. I have literally no idea what possible means if it doesn't refer to like some way the world could be.
Because possible categorically could just be speaking about the intrinsic power of the will, as the blessed schoolmen have talked about over and over, especially as Sacred Theologiae, book 3 on the Trinity talks about when it says that, look, if you're talking about God, what God can do with his will, then and what God will do with his will, those are two different categories or two different predicates. So for example, if I say God can do X, that means in each possible world, God can do X. That's all it would mean for me. If I say that God will do X, that means in each possible world, God will do X. That's all it would mean for me. But I don't think I have to say God can do X, then there exists some possible world in which God will do X. Absolutely not.
I just have no idea what else this would mean. I like truly, I'm like baffled as to what the
Because if you
semantics could
read
even like could
if you
even
read
like even
Blessed
like mean.
Scotus on the Ordinatio, when he argues for the incarnation of Christ, and he tries to argue that it would be necessary in every possible world, the critique to that is just going to be like rejecting that inference. Or what Scotus would argue is like, yeah, that God could have saved someone in a different way. People like Christians believe that stabbing Christ in his side or just stabbing his hand and allowing blood to come out, that's sufficient for everyone's salvation already. But the
So
crucifixion was the perfect way to do it. But
could you
but
define
but some
possible
people,
maybe? I think maybe that'll be the
sorry, can I define what?
define possible.
So possible could be used in different senses, but possible for me is just going to be based on potency, which is the argument I gave from motion in the first place. It's going to be based on the limitation of being and the capacity for that particular being to change.
But can I just get like a definition? Like what like just a definition of possible?
Yes, so I just explain. I don't think I have a formal definition in my head, but I explain it as the capacity for a being to be otherwise,
The capacity for a being to be otherwise. Okay.
or for the capacity for some event to be otherwise or something.
So if something has the capacity to be otherwise, is there a way in which it could be otherwise?
Yes, yes, exactly. There is a way in which it could be otherwise. It doesn't mean that there's a way in which it will be otherwise.
Oh, cool. That's the definition of a possible world.
Okay, no, okay, bro, you're not getting it. Okay, so now you're just saying that it's the definition of a possible world.
Yeah.
But look here. That means that if you agree with what I just said, that means that the only inference that I can, okay, not the only inference. It's not the, obviously it's not the only inference, but what I'm led to say is that there exists some world in which God can do X. It doesn't mean that there exists some world in which God will necessarily do X.
No,
Or
we're just saying
will
like
do
a
X.
like a world where
That's
God
the
will
point.
possibly do X.
Yes, exactly. So you're saying a world in which God could possibly do X or could do X, not
Yeah.
that he would do it in that possible world. Okay, that's a
Yeah.
better expatiation. So you're saying that there's a world in which God possibly would do X, right? But
Yep.
you're not saying that there's a possible world in which God will do X. You see the difference, right?
Well, we can work with this. So in order to have the power, there needs to be a world where God does X. In order for God to have the power to do X, there needs to be a world where God could do X,
Right.
or
The-
where God possibly does X.
yeah, where God possibly does X. Yeah.
So okay, if there's not a world where God possibly does X, then God does not have the power to do it.
If there's not a world where God possibly does X, then what? Sorry.
If there's not a world where God possibly does X, then God does not have the power to do X. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We agreed earlier that there is no possible world where God puts someone into heaven and then takes them out of heaven.
No, yeah, no. So, okay, now I see what you just did. That was actually smart of you. I'll just correct you a bit. So, there's no world in which God will actually do X in any possible world. But obviously, there's a possible world in which God could take someone out of heaven. That doesn't mean that there's a possible world in which God will take someone out of heaven. Do you see the difference?
No.
There's
To say
obviously a
God could
difference.
wait. So
There's an obvious
I
difference.
do see the difference. But
Right.
I think if you're saying like God could take someone out of heaven, that's the same as saying uh, God possibly will take someone out of heaven. I take possibly will to be the same under this semantics as saying God could do this thing.
You're saying that God could do this thing. Sorry, could you repeat what you just said?
So to say God possibly will do something is the same thing as saying God could do that thing.
To say that God could possibly do something is the same thing as saying that God would do that thing.
No, God possibly will do a thing is the same as saying God could do a
Okay,
thing.
that God.
Possibly will is equivalent to could.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Okay. Gotcha. So there is no world where God possibly will put someone into heaven and then take them out of heaven.
No, I think that there's a possible world in which God could take someone out of heaven because there's no intrinsic possibility there. But like for example, Satan was in heaven. He fell from heaven. But I don't think that God would, but because of his promise.
So God possibly will take someone out of heaven?
Yeah, but God possibly could. Possibly could
No.
take
Wait,
someone
I'm
out.
saying possibly
Or,
would.
or God in another possible world.
Wait, the word I'm using.
Yeah, possibly.
God possibly will put someone into heaven and then take someone out of
Yeah,
heaven.
God possibly would in another possible world take someone out of heaven and put him there, whatever. Like how he did Satan. Jesus Christ said he saw Satan fall from heaven like lightning.
So
Christians
the
believe this.
exact opposite of what you've been saying for the last 30 minutes?
Okay, no, Ian, because we was disagreeing on the semantics of whether God could, whether saying that, bro, I have a headache now. We was disagreeing on something. You know what I'm talking about.
So is there anything that God has the power to do, but there's no possible world in which he will do it?
Are we disagreeing that God? Sorry, what did you say?
So is there anything that God has the power to do, but there's no possible world where God will do it?
Is there anything that God has the power to do, but there's no possible world in where God would do it? Yeah, I think that God has the power to do a couple of things, and there's no possible world in which God would do it.
Okay. Yep. Let's represent one of these arbitrary things as X. So X has the property. God has the power to do it, and it has the property. There is no possible world where God will do it. So, if God could do X, then that means that He possibly will do X. God there's no possible world where God will do X.
It means that
Therefore, God could not do X.
it means that there's a possible world where God possibly would do X, and you even agreed with me that when you said
Which premise do you reject?
I'm correcting your premise. Okay, I don't have to.
What do you mean correct my premise? It's my premise. What do you reject?
Sorry, bro. I've heard it. I am trying to. What was I trying to say? I'm trying to like use a better word so that we can get on the substance. Actually, let me drink some water, sir.
Keep going.
All right, yeah. So, like I said, I'm trying to use a better term so that we can come to agreements. But, yeah. So, if you mean by, I would just like you to change the word possibly will, because will implies like execution, whereas like possibly would is equivalent according to even you with could. Possibly would, could. So yeah, I think that's a better term.
So okay, wait. Yeah, sure. So we can do possibly would. That's fine. So does there exist anything that God has the power to do, but that He wouldn't possibly do?
Does there exist anything that God has the power to do that He couldn't possibly do? No.
Wouldn't possibly do.
There's anything that He wouldn't possibly do. He wouldn't possibly do. No, I don't think so.
There's nothing that God has the power to do that He wouldn't possibly do.
If you mean by wouldn't, you mean execution. No. If you mean just like the mere possibility of His will, yes. Sorry, I mean, oh my God, I'm getting so tired. Okay,
That's okay. It's okay.
I meant to switch it the other way around. So if you mean by something that He could do, right? So can you just repeat what you just said?
Yeah. So, does there exist any action that God has the power to do, but that He wouldn't possibly do?
Any action that God has the power to do, but He wouldn't possibly do. But He wouldn't possibly do.
Yeah. Just a thing that He's never going to
That's a
do.
really good question. I'm not sure. But can you continue if he's like
Sure. Yeah. So that's fine. So the way the argument, and it sounds like we're probably going to conclude this soon, but the way the argument unfolds, if there's a thing that God has the power to do, but that He wouldn't possibly do, then we would say, one, if God has the power to do something, then God could do that thing. Two, if God could do a thing, then He possibly would do the thing. Three, God wouldn't possibly do X. Therefore, there's a thing that God both has, or therefore God doesn't have the power to do X. And then the contradiction is that God both has the power to do X and also doesn't have the power to do X.
Okay. So what's that thing that you think God possibly wouldn't do?
I think that's going to be up to you. I suppose. I guess I think that there's like probably like some like evil. My intuition tells me it seems like it's like logically possible that like Jesus comes down on earth and like throws like trash on the ground. That doesn't seem like logically impossible. But like He just wouldn't possibly, like he wouldn't do that. He has the He has the power to do that, but he
Just
wouldn't
because
possibly
something is
do
not
that.
logically possible doesn't mean that Jesus Christ would do it. Because obviously there's different categories of possibilities. There's something like psychologically possible things, metaphysically possible things, logically possible things,
Yep.
mathematically possible things. So like, but I think it's psychologically impossible for Jesus Christ to purposely litter or to do anything without a purpose, parable, or meaning
Yeah.
from the sacred scriptures. So yeah.
Sure. So, but I feel like that would satisfy the criteria. I feel like Jesus has the power to litter, but he wouldn't possibly litter.
Bro, do you think littering is evil?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so if you say littering is evil, then Jesus Christ does not have the power to litter, because Jesus Christ does not have the power to do evil.
I guess that's unintuitive to say that Jesus Christ doesn't have the power to litter. Like, if you want to say that he wouldn't litter,
It's
that
not
makes
because
sense. I
the
get
sacred
that,
the
but
sacred
he doesn't have the
if you're
power
running off
to.
the Christian framework, the sacred scriptures tell us that Jesus Christ doesn't do anything evil. Hebrews chapter 1, Hebrews chapter 3. And if loitering is evil according to you, which let's just say hypothetically I agree, then Jesus Christ would not do this thing. It would be logically consistent, psychologically consistent, and scripturally consistent.
Right. Veritas, correct me if I'm wrong. This just sounds like the Epicurus paradox.
Brother, I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with that paradox. I
It's
think I know it
it's
if you say it.
basically, can God create a rock that he himself can't move? If he can,
Oh, that
right?
one. Yeah.
So in some possible world, could he make it? Sure. Some possible world, can he not move it? Sure. But if he
Yeah.
can't do it, then he's not powerful. But if he can't make the rock,
Yeah.
he's not powerful, right? So that's what I'm saying. This just sounds like the Epicurus paradox.
hmm So yeah. Um, I'm so sorry, guys. Christians, love you so much, but I want to go sleep.
Yeah, good job, bro. Yeah, hey, Veritas, good job, bro. The only
Yeah,
thing
love you,
is,
brother.
like, it's tough to
This
engage
was
in that
this
kind
was
of.
a great conversation. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it. I'll drop you a follow.
All right, thank
it
you.
was. The only thing, Veritas, like, you're getting confused with the paradox, like, because you were using the possible world. I wouldn't do that with God, right? Because in our paradigm, if he were to do it in the other world, that would actually be a contradiction because he doesn't do it here. Now you have
Yeah.
him one thing in another world, right? And especially if he does it in another world, that means a restriction was lifted for him to do so, and now God is limited. That's the only problem with the paradox. That's why I wouldn't have accepted. You could have just talked about it here. Can God do it here?
No, because I think God, like in every possible world, would never be able to do anything evil. So anything you try to point at, that's the thing. That's why, like anything you try to point at that's evil, I'll just say it's not possible for God to do it because God cannot do evil. If God could do evil, he wouldn't be God. It would be an imperfection in him.
So one thing that I'd like to correct, it's not the Epicurean paradox. If memory serves, I think it's like the Tugma paradox.
Oh, okay.
The one I'm thinking of is the Epicurean. The one about
It's
specifically,
probably a
it's
different
specifically
paradox.
referring to the stone. God can make an immovable stone that he himself can't move. If he can't make the stone, he's limited and therefore not all powerful. Therefore, he's not God. If he can't, if he can make the stone but he can't move it, he's not all powerful. Therefore, he's not God.
Yeah,
That's the Epicurus paradox.
it's been debunked so many times.
Yeah.
It's not even a good argument.
The Epicurean paradox I thought was just like the classic problem of evil.
Sorry, someone asked me a
Well, I
question.
suppose you can modify it and just swap evil in there with instead of a stone, but the whole point is that it follows, that structure.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
no, the Epicurean paradox is the problem of evil. You're conflating them. You're talking about the omnipotence paradox.
Oh
But
yeah,
the
yeah.
the one I'm thinking of is the one about the stone. That's the Epicurean
Omnipotent. Yeah,
paradox.
no, it's not.
I